let's go ahead and get settled. So welcome. I'm so honored to see you all here. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. My name is Mari. I have the absolute privilege of facilitating and helping us through this session today. The session that you're in today, if you missed the sign on the way out, it's working with our ancestral foods as resistance. I want to offer a reflection question to start out with. So, the reflection question for this afternoon is, how is it that you connect with the land? The land can be this land, can be the land of where your family came from. It could be the ground underneath you right now. How do you connect with the land? Can you think about a time that you were connecting with the land? What did it feel like? What did it taste like? What did it smell like? What were the sounds? What did you touch? So keep that in your mind, keep that in your heart, keep that in your spirit. And we're going to get into that a little bit today. So I'm going to turn it over to our guests to introduce themselves. These are our lovely speakers for today's session. And then we're going to get into watching a short film. We have a very dynamic presentation for today. So there'll be all of those senses I hope are going to pop up for you. So I am going to turn it over now to Amana.
Well, thank you for being here. My name is, the name that my parents give me is Paulina, but I decided to reclaim that name of Amana. That is an indigenous word from the Nahuatl indigenous language that is from mostly big part of Mexico, one of the language that we actually speak until today. So Nahuatl language. And I come from central region of Mexico. I'm born and raised in Toluca, Estado de Mexico. And I have this project with chocolate that is Ama, that cacao. And I've been working with this since I was pregnant with my son. He's 11 years old. He's around here. And he's my inspiration to work with chocolate, because when I was pregnant, I was looking for a chocolate without sugar, and I wasn't found any chocolate. Actually, I wasn't found a lot of candies flavored chocolate. They don't even have real cacao, and that was very sad. So I started like my journey, my connection with cacao. There, I have a few years like learning and practicing traditional Mexican medicine. I'm a sobadora, that is like, we can say that is like a traditional Mexican massage. And also I work as a doula. I start my journey with my son too. That was the first 11 years ago, down there in TJ. And I make my service there too, with a lot of pregnant women and families in the public hospitals. And well, I moved here, I live here from 6 years. For about 6 years, yeah, and I love San Diego, and I love to share and cross with my seeds, corn seeds, no transgenic, no organismos genéticamente modificados, and also we have the fortune to bring cacao from there too, Guerrero, Michoacán, and Chiapas. Yeah, in a beautiful way, because I know the families there, and it's beautiful to know where come from the cacao that we are working with, and also that we are ingesting. And so happy to be here sharing how cacao, it is medicine too, and also it is a candy or dessert, but it can be like also food. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Leo Senchi Manyavu. Blessings, everybody. My name is Mario. Mario Ceballos. I use he, they pronouns. I'm the co-chair of the Yaquis of Southern California and the program leader of the Earth Keepers. We do cleanups and connecting our youth and our people back to the land, learning our language. Today I'm wearing my POC Fungi community hat. I'm one of the organizers and founders of the POC Fungi community. And there's a lot to say about that work, but today we're going to be introducing and bringing some ancestral foods to y'all. I did want to give a big thank you to my partner Patricia back there, who's supporting with our food and mole today. Gee. And a really big shout out to all the organizers of San Diego Food Systems Alliance, Rachel, Margaret. I know was up pretty late last night working on a little film we're going to show today, and so I really wanted to make sure I said thank you to you, Margaret, and Rachel, and everybody supporting today's work. And I've watched and been seeing in communication, and they've been working tirelessly, like pretty like nonstop for the past couple of weeks, and so thank you for putting this all together. There's a lot I want to share around the work we're doing, around POC Fungi community, why mushrooms are important. You know, I think there's a lot of interesting buzzwords that I see, you know, being used from indigenous sovereignty, food sovereignty, decolonization, and all these things. And I also wanted to preface this talk by saying I am not academically trained. I don't have any degrees. My training comes from my teachers and community, my maestras, my maestros, my time spent in nature. My children have taught me a lot. I've been a stay-at-home parent for the past 10 years now, which is a privilege that I've been afforded. You know, again, thanks to the support of my partner, Patricia, back there. But it's that time that I've been able to cultivate this knowledge, my relationship with my children, and heal, you know, generational trauma that we've endured, and that I was able to really take that time to dissect and figure out where that was coming from. And that led me to the path of medicine, food as medicine. You know, I worked for many years in a hospital, and I was seeing a lot of brown and black people coming as returning patients with chronic disease, diseases that were affecting us due to environmental racism, due to the food apartheid that we're in, and so I really wanted to get into preventative medicine and figure out why and how, why this was happening, why I was seeing, you know, my people showing up to the hospital time and time again, and often just kind of trusting Western medicine and putting the trust in that system. And you know, I will say there's so many beautiful people who work in healthcare, you know, but there was also the business side that I was able to see. And it was something that was kind of keeping me up at night. It was hard to sleep at night knowing, you know, the things that we were doing in regards to insurance, the lack of follow-up, and really like the cultural insensitivity that was occurring. You know, often telling indigenous folks that they need to stop eating corn and their indigenous foods. And when I heard things like that, it makes me cringe, you know, telling indigenous folks that they can't eat their traditional foods, you know, made me wonder why. And so that path led me to studying mushrooms, and the mushrooms kind of showed me different examples of cooperation, different examples of healthy communication, on top of the medicine and the food that they were providing. I've seen a lot of research coming out, and circles were being really kind of activating in different parts of the country around micro-remediation, so cleaning up the soil, cleaning up the environment, cleaning up the waterways with mycelium and fungi. And I didn't really hear any of that happening in my neighborhood, in my community, and so I kind of took it upon myself to, and a few others, to bring that knowledge, bring this, I don't want to call it a new frontier, but at the time it was kind of being praised as this new frontier, right? This new space. As I kind of kept studying and going into that, I noticed that a lot of indigenous folks, or black and brown indigenous folks, weren't in the spaces, and often our narrative was being excluded. And I come to find out that we have a very rich, long history with and relationship with fungi. And so, that's in a nutshell kind of the work of the POC fungi community and what its purpose and intention is. That work has led us to work with Huitlacoche. For those of you who know Huitlacoche, it's an indigenous food and delicacy, but you also may know that it's not something that you could find here very easily. And then more recently, it's been, maybe dubbed, well, actually in history, it's been dubbed a plague. It's known as a devil's corn, because if you find it, it's a fungus that grows on your corn. And if you find it in your farm or in your garden, usually you kind of get rid of it and you consider it a loss to your crop. But indigenous cultures all over the world know Huitlacoche, and they have their different names for it. And they use it as food, medicine, and some folks don't eat it but revere it, and it's part of their creation story. And so one thing that we found out is that for some reason in the confines of the United States, it's harder to find and discouraged to grow. And so we were figuring out and wondering why that is, and is it the U.S. agricultural industry? Is it our fear? Was there a fear, like maybe imported fear, a Western fear of fungus in general? The things of the unknown, things that are closer to things that are rotting. There's this idea of sterility when it comes to farming, when it comes to even our food. And I think for me, personally, I've made correlations between the sterility and the eugenics that is involved in the food system and in the persecution of indigenous foods and the erasure of those foods. And so one thing I noticed in past years, since mushrooms started getting more popular, Huitlacoche kind of got rediscovered, and I started seeing it pop up in different foodies, Instagram feeds, and folks who are going to Oaxaca and bringing it back, maybe opening up their new restaurants. But Huitlacoche was a hard word for them to say. It's an indigenous word, and so to appeal and to our palate and our way of saying it, they started changing the name to corn caviar or corn truffle. That was my reaction. And so when you think of caviar in general, what do you think of? Your privilege, class, rich people? I've still never eaten caviar. Not because I don't want to, I just literally can't afford it. And many folks in my community growing up, we don't know these rich foods. And so now I'm seeing this Huitlacoche, an indigenous food, being commodified, taking the name out, erasing the indigenous history, and now making it, again, a class food, right? A food that, to some, even indigenous folks who come to the United States, sometimes feel ashamed of our foods, right? We want to assimilate to the Western way. We want to eat more Americanized foods. So sometimes our foods that maybe we grew up with, we sometimes become, you get ashamed of it. I don't know how many people here have had the experience of bringing burritos to school, and then somebody in school seeing that burrito and saying, "Ooh, what's that?" It's not a sandwich. It's not a what is it, the little meals, the fun Lunchables, you know? And so, you know, in the neighborhoods and schools that I've seen, and the experiences that I was, you know, learning and seeing from our youth, was a lot of that shame when it comes to our food, right? And so we did see that as a point of entry for us to show the commodification of indigenous foods, the appropriation of our foods, and see how even the changing of that word is equated, how we're equating it to indigenous erasure. And so Huitlacoche has brought us here. That's what we're going to be serving for y'all today, just an FYI. Can I show of hands who's never tried Huitlacoche? Yay. And who has, out of those folks, I want to ask who maybe has an ancestral connection to it, but because of generations of assimilation, because of border, have not had a chance to experience Huitlacoche. And so that was my experience. I didn't have that opportunity to experience it because the diaspora, displacement, you could go on and on, the inaccessibility of this food. And so, you know, we've been trying to change the culture with art, doing teachings, doing food demos, and really doing the work to bring this food back, revitalize it, and making sure that indigenous folks are maybe in front of that movement and are presenting that food, that traditional food, in order to pass it down to our next generations. Because it is up to us, it is this generation. If we let it go, it will be lost. And so it's one of the big reasons why, you know, we do this work. Sometimes we're wondering, we're late, you know, up late at night and doing this work, and often it's unpaid, and you're wondering, is anybody going to be listening? But you guys all showed up today, and so I really appreciate it. It just goes to show how important the work is, and so thanks for doing this work with us. It's really appreciated. Thank you. I wanted to, you know, I kind of let the secret out. We're making a mole, and there's Huitlacoche in the house. But it's hard to do a demo and show the process of a mole. If anybody knows what a mole, what entails and the labor that goes into a mole, it takes days to make. It took us days for sure. And so we, with the help of San Diego Food System Alliance and our camera crew, we made a quick little video so that you guys could see the process of that mole, and so you could see how Amana and myself work together. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes we're helping each other out and saving each other. Yesterday I almost burnt some almonds, and Amana for some reason had a little alarm go off and knew to go turn them and things like that. And so thank you for saving us multiple times. But yeah, we've been taking a lot of direction from Amana in this process, and a lot of inspiration from Huitlacoche. And so I think, is there anything else to add? Or should we just press play?
The one thing that we did want to add, so in the mole, the ingredients, right? So in the mole, there are peanuts in the mole, and there are tree nuts. So I know those can be severe allergies for some people. So just so you know, we are going to be passing them out as we get the film going. If you are a person that has allergies, you might want to just to be mindful of who's sitting next to you. I'm laboring on because I have a child that has this, so I'm trying to be mindful of everybody in the space that, you know, you might have some dietary restrictions to the point where the person sitting next to you eating it could also not be great for you. So if that is you, you are more than welcome to come stand up here next to me. Let's be friends. But I don't want anyone to feel excluded. But I just want you to know what's in the mole. And then before you eat it, is there anything else secret ingredient-wise folks should know about?
It is vegan, and so ¿tú explicas si quieres decirles un poco? I mean, there's plenty of chiles in there, sesame seeds, We are serving it on some plantains, a lot of nuts, and some herbs, tomatoes, onions, and garlic. And there's a whole list of things, but I just want to make sure I'm naming like some of the high allergen ingredients.
Yeah,
actually.
so it's peanuts, almonds, pecans.
Yeah.
And
Pumpkin seeds.
And sesame seeds is another top allergen, just to let you know. So there's enough for everyone. You're gonna get it. You're gonna be able to try it. After the video, we have an opportunity for folks we're gonna have some questions, some dialogue, an opportunity to reflect on that question that we talked about with the land, reflect on what you heard so far from our introduction from Amana and Mario, and also be able to take a look at some of these beautiful ingredients that are on the table here and what that means to Mario and what that means to Amana and maybe also what that means to you. So, as best we can, like I said, it's interactive. We're in a tight space, so bear with us. We're going to get all the senses going. So as you are getting it, so give it a smell, give it a taste, and then we're going to start using our eyes, and we're going to take a look at this video that we just made a couple days ago, believe it or not, thanks to Margaret. So if we want to cut the lights, is anybody back there that could help us with that? Okay, so while we wait to get the lights off, because I don't want you to miss any bit of this video, because it's beautiful. So while we wait, maybe I can go around and like those of you that are trying it already, what are you tasting? Anybody?
Smoky and chocolatey.
Somebody else?
Picosito.
Picosito.
Tasty.
Tasty. Anybody else? What are you tasting? What are you smelling? Flavor. How about from this side of the room? What do you think?
Nuttiness, smokiness, depth of flavor.
Depth of flavor.
I don't know if anybody said it, but earthy. Very
Earthy. She says earthy. Wow.
Did somebody already say smoky? Well, I'm going to say it again because I think it's been said, but that smokiness of the chipotle is like on point.
Irene says smoky. Daniela?
I want seconds. Just kidding.
Daniela says seconds. Well, what about that? While we wait for the lights. Is this reminding you, anybody in the room? I think, Mario, you asked and said in the last session we did together, what is this reminding you of?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if anybody has any initial things that are coming up for them or memories being activated.
But, you know, me growing up on both sides of the border, you can taste like the chilitos, like the cacao, the corn, like you really taste that now with the plantain. Like it's all these like ancestral foods that like are part of our childhood, you know, the canelita, like different things that you mix together. So it does kind of bring this beautiful smile because it is a remembrance, you know.
How about back here? Anybody? What are you remembering as you taste this? Whose hand was up? Your hand was.
Hi, everybody. We were just talking over here that my friend over here was asking, you know, have you ever had mole from Oaxaca? And I'm like, no, unfortunately, just Doña Maria. And I think it makes me sad because it's the flavor that was always missing, like that earthiness, that like the soul of mole. I got the manufactured one that came in a jar that we always reused, but it just came in a jar. I never got a chance to connect with it the same way, so it makes me sad but really happy at the same time.
Complex flavors, complex feelings.
Yeah, hello,
All right.
hello everyone.
One more.
Well, you know, as soon as I heard the word mole, like my blood just started rushing with ancestral knowledge. It was beautiful. I kept thinking of my mom, kept thinking of my grandma and the process that they go through just to make mole. Like, it does take days, it takes hours, it takes like strategic planning and even like experimenting too, because my mom puts like peanut butter, banana, I mean, all kinds of savory, goody, like yumminess. It's delicious. And so I just wanted to say thank you. That was freaking good. And my mom and my grandmothers are in here because I kept thinking about them.
I just wanted to say thank you so very much for bringing that to the table. I've been so excited to be able to try these beautiful foods, and just mushrooms and cacao together are just lovely, lovely medicine for the heart. So thank you so much.
I want to say thank you because it brings so much joy, and I think we're all so excited, and this is like the time where we're digesting the beautiful foods, and all of a sudden I turn around and everyone's smiling. So gracias, you know.
Mole, it is a celebration. Mole for me is a wedding, is a birthday, is it's family also.
Working with ancestral foods, the smells, the tastes, the traditions, the stories, the community building that happened that happens in the kitchen actually was really healing for me. I started realizing how it was actually affecting my emotional health, my mental health, my spiritual health, right?
It's a special dish that I love since I was a little one, and now my son loves, and he's 11 years old, and I'm so glad to be able to prepare that with the best ingredients that I can. The importance of, for example, have a good corn that is not transgenic is also because it's gonna feed our ancestral memory. That means that it's gonna nourish and feed also our spirit, not only our body.
Obviously, one of the big reasons we wanted to make this mole is we wanted to incorporate huitlacoche. And so I did dehydrate huitlacoche, fresh huitlacoche, and that is one of the main ingredients in this mole.
And other ingredient, it is seeds. So do you remember which seeds?
Sesame seeds, amaranth, pumpkin,
yes,
and
sesame seeds.
Sesame seeds, yeah, the sesame seeds.
Yeah, and the spices that we use.
Spices are thyme, clove, salt, pepper, garlic.
No, garlic is at the final when we made the the final toast.
The final mole.
So that's it for the paste, right?
Just for the chiles.
And the chocolate, of course. I was missing that part. Oh my goodness. So for the chocolate, we need cacao, a pinch of salt, and piloncillo. We have to toast all the ingredients. We have to toast the seeds, wash them first, then toast.
Pecans. Any other nuts? Just pecans, huh?
Pecans, pumpkin seeds,
amaranth,
sesame seeds, a little bit of amaranth, and the chiles. We asamos los chiles, we toast the chiles, but be careful of don't burn the chiles, because after that we take out the pepitas that are the little seeds inside of the chiles and the veins. We take it out, and once that's ready, we put all our ingredients in our molino, and we spin the molino.
Grind it
until it's like pounded, and then again 3 times over the molino. After that, we have the paste. And when we have the paste, we get ready with other fresh ingredients that it is
tomato, which the green tomato. That's what we use in this one. Garlic and onion, and oil, and a little bit of oil. We fry that up, and then so we toast our tomates too, our green tomatoes, and then we throw that in a blender with salt, pepper, and garlic, and onion, and then we fry that up, and that's when we add the paste. At that point is when we add the paste.
And we dissolve the paste
We dissolve the paste
on the
in that.
salsa,
Yeah.
on the tomatillos or
Yeah.
tomato, green tomato. And yeah, let it cook a little bit, adjust salt and pepper, and that's it.
And that's it.
Well, maybe if you want, you can put always more chocolate. And for our plate, we serve on banana chips.
But plantain chips,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, in some regions, they put banana on the mole, and
Yeah.
we think that it was like a good combination
Yeah.
for serve this plate. So we have that one in the mole and the
Yeah.
huitlacoche.
Mole, huitlacoche.
Looks like we got some questions already. Maybe like a reaction to the film. Also amazing. Margaret made this film last night. One thing I forgot to mention. We do have active translation in the room, so if you could be really helpful, and myself included, to slow down, say your name before you talk, and that will help out to enable everyone to understand.
I had a question regarding Huitlacoche in terms of kind of weaponizing this ancestral food. If I'm not mistaken, there's parts of the country in which you can't grow it because if that fungus moves to a different farm, then you can be penalized for that. So if you could just touch on that part.
Corn came from a grass, Dalcinte. And so that this fungus grew on that grass, and again evolved with the plant. It is the only plant that it affects, this specific strain of fungus, which is in the smut family of funguses. And so, you know, that, like you were saying, you're not going to make many friends if you're a crop farmer and you have neighbors who are also farming corn. If they find out that you're growing huitlacoche, which is again considered a plague, it's considered an infection on the corn, and so you know, normally what those folks in those places do is if you find it in your farm, you could probably isolate it and get rid of it. But the most common practice is to burn that field, actually, to sterilize that soil, sterilize that area, and that way you're preventing the spread of the fungus, right? There's millions, if not billions, of dollars being spent on fungicides, pest controls, weed killers, which I consider to be a war on the soil, basically a biological war. So for me, huitlacoche actually, like I love that you said weaponize, because to me it is actually, I see it, I want it to be reintroduced in a radical way, because it is, for me, it's introducing more biodiversity, the biodiversity that we've been actually taking out of the soil. I even have some hypotheses that if you learn the cycle and how huitlacoche overwinters in the soil, I'm wondering if there's even carbon sequestering properties or a role that huitlacoche plays. There's even information that has just been confirmed when it comes to climate change and weather formation. Folks for many years were theorizing, they were finding spores up in the stratosphere and the atmosphere, and they were wondering why they were finding all these spores up there from mushrooms. And comes to find out is that they actually play a role in weather formation, in cloud formation. And so my conclusion, my traditional ecological knowledge tells me that we've done a disservice by only allowing the corn to grow and not its relative, not its sister or brother, or however we want to genderize it, its relative that grows with it, along with it. To me, that even speaks to like the way we select and eradicate things in our food system, right? And so it's, some folks wonder like, but wouldn't that affect the other biodiversity? Wouldn't that affect insects, other plants, if we're introducing a plague, right? Because I keep using that word even. And so we're like, there's this fear just ingrained and instilled in us. I really, with all the work that I've been doing, I still haven't found a case that it's affected another plant or been a disservice to the ecosystem in that area. I have folks who are looking at it in the lab. Have a good friend, Patty Cation, who does a lot of research out of SUNY University, New York, environmental college, right? And again, kind of confirming that there's only benefits that have come out that we can conclude, that we've like drawn from that, from like studying it and introducing more biodiversity in anybody's soil and any garden. For the most part, corn in this country, an indigenous sacred food, by the way, that has sustained all indigenous folks on Turtle Island and Abayala. In the United States, and the U.S. agricultural system is grown for corn syrup, plastics, animal feed, and then maybe for human consumption. And so, I think when we talk about the food system, and specifically corn, we need to be talking about Huitlacoche too. So, yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Pablo Sanchez. I actually work with Mexican food. We have a family restaurant. As an immigrant here, I'm from the south of Mexico, so actually for my last 4 birthdays, my birthday present is my mom making me mole. And she's got a cookbook that looks like a pirate map. It's all, and it's amazing. It's just very different. Every mole is different. Every regional, where I'm from, every town had their own variation on mole. One of the biggest, as an immigrant here in San Diego, one of the things that has hurt me the most, I guess, now looking back, is the devaluation of Mexican food. And I'm guessing this is probably common to a lot of cultures, but the fact that you think of Mexican food, you think of fast food, you think of cheap food, you think of not elaborate food. I've traveled extensively throughout Mexico, especially the southern part of Mexico, and it's such elaborate food, it's such well-made, there's so many things that go into it, and to me, it's just always so sad, the fact that people just kind of made it so that it's cheap, not only that, but because of the price constraints, that's what we get here, cheap, bad food. So that, to me, is, I guess, weaponization of the food in this sense. So I would really, I hear all these people go to Oaxaca, and they take pictures, and it's always like, oh, it's Mexican food, but with French techniques. And I've been there. I tried these foods, and they're beautiful for pictures, but 100 times, out of it, every time I go down there, I'd rather go to the market and eat the food that ladies make, or the people that in the town make, and it always tastes way much better. It's not as pretty to take a picture of, but it'll always taste way much better. So I do think that you guys should always consider that fact that a lot of the food in Mexican food is intricate, it's time-consuming, expensive to make, and there is value to paying for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. Can we put a prompt out there?
Yeah, I just want to confirm how the mole, it is a cultural thing. It shows the identity of every region, has the tamales as well, has the tostadas. We have different, has the language too. Many towns down there, they have like closer relationship with earth, and a lot of them, they grow their own food. For us, maybe they will be expensive because we got it here, but it's something that feed also our love, our relations with our ancestors, I can say in some way. So maybe it's that why we can pay that much. They can ask for Huitlacoche here in the States, or for fresh cup of cacao, because we don't get those things very easily here. But yeah, it is. We are very lucky we can approach those foods, because it's giving us also happiness, right? It's giving us also like this nourishment in our memory. Thank you. More than a couple times that I was bringing the long way, the cups from Guerrero, like fresh fruits, coming here and just right there, the officers on the border just put it on the garbage like that. I don't take it back. I don't can take the cups back, and they say no, go forward. That stay here. And many times also just with the cacao seeds, or the Theobroma bicolor, that is a white seed. They don't know about those, so they send me to secondary to make the inspection on the car. So has been like kind of word of resistance. I think is the love that we have for work with the seeds that make us continue with this work. I mean the seeds and yeah, fungus and all our ancestral foods, right? So, yeah, has been disappointment many times how they just take that like that, and I bring that for show the people, because I surprised how a lot of people don't even know the seed that we use for make chocolate, and chocolate it's a word. They come from the indigenous language, the Nahuatl, and is maybe the more famous indigenous word all over the world. And it's very interesting how we just want to call it cocoa, which is another thing, or cocoa, which is another thing too. Yeah, but I feel so happy that people down there in the rainforest, or they continue working with cacao seeds and make it the resistance, like planting and taking care of those cacao tales, those cacao trees, and all the diversity that we need for make a rich food, good food that is gonna feed our memory. Thank you.
So this is like a question and a comment, because I know Paulina, and I met her many years ago, and one thing that was really amazing about getting to know her is, one, the way she honors and connects to cacao. It is in a very sacred, beautiful way, like it's a relationship. But one thing that she said one time when we were at her house, moliendo el cacao, pelándolo, and she said, I want my son to drink cacao every morning. It's medicine, right? And it really struck a chord with me, because I think living on this side of the border, experiencing chocolate, not cacao, experiencing chocolate, experiencing the sugar industry, all that would be like a comment I would not think of. Oh, I want to give my kid chocolate every day. But then understanding like chocolate is one thing, the way it's processed, but now cacao as a medicine is actually quite powerful, you know, because of what she shared with me, and now bringing that into our home. You know, we drink cacao every morning. You know, we toast the seeds and we peel them, because it's also a heart opener, right? Like it does a lot. So I actually want you to talk about that, about what is it in the cacao, right? Like that is more than just like a dessert or a memory. It's actually like it's medicine for our body, you know?
I think that cacaos have something very beautiful, and I think it's the nectar of the rainforest. A little bit of sun that the tree don't take from on top of the trees, because it need to be covered with other trees. But it's that richness of the like kind of fire that it comes to those fruits, to those seeds. Yeah, and also we are taking some substance, the theobromine, right, principally, that is going to help us to produce a different substance in our body, has the oxytocin, the relaxin, dopamine, serotonin, a lot of beautiful substances that make us think better, feel energetic, and maybe feel in love with ourselves or with everything maybe. And of course it's antidepressant medicine. I guess for the same because it has the sun inside. And that's something very, very, very strong because I've been down there in different communities that has been working with cacao. I was looking about cacao ceremonies, on how cacao go to the ceremony. And it's beautiful to find how the knowledge is still there, the indigenous people are still there, they continue making the ceremonies. It's not only that I can read on the book, or maybe sometimes I get lucky and I read something and I go down there and I found about it. And it was a very beautiful medicine that the curanderos used to use for help the people get out of the jails, cold jails that they have. For me, that's depression, right? And they have their special songs for that. They have the special offerings for that. And also they say that in the spiritual world, they are working with that. The cacao, in the spiritual world, it is chocolate. So a lot of magic and beautiful things on the different cosmovision and stories of creation with these seeds and yeah, with our food. Thank you.
Thank you. It's beautiful. I think we maybe got a little bit of a better mic. Who are we waiting on over here?
Hi, my name is Gabriela. My question is based on the video. Like, we are here to talk about, connecting with ancestral foods, but it was very obvious in the video that a part of that is taking the time to start the food from scratch and cook with someone and have it be a community thing. And I think I work every day from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, and I'm very tired in the evening to cook as I want to cook. So my question is, do you have any initiatives with the community where you do this together? It was obvious you two were bonding. I was a little bit jealous. So I just, maybe you can talk or a little bit about how because you both obviously have a strong connection with the fungi and then the cacao, but how you have brought these to the community and how you maybe encourage or bring people in to do this as a ritual like you two were doing, because it feels very hard for me as a person viewing, I wish I could do that. And I want to do that, so maybe there are opportunities to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was actually leading us to, I think, one of our next prompting questions, which was to discuss more and for all of us to reflect upon how in what ways are we taking the steps or in our daily lives, what we think about, what we touch, what we feel, what we see, what we taste. How are we connecting with our ancestors and how are we carrying that forward to the next generation, right? Our everyday lives are very taxing, but I would go so far as to say that each and every one of us, our ancestors, what they saw, what they felt, what they thought about, what they smelled, what they tasted, it exists with us today in our DNA. And so I think the work of Mario and Amana, Paulina, is so beautiful because it's giving us that sort of pathway, right? That little bit of peek in of how do I connect there. And I think that's maybe going to show up different for everybody. But so I want to give some space for Mario and Amana to reflect on that. But also while they are reflecting on that, give you all an opportunity to think about how does that show up for you in your life? What are you doing where you're sort of able to make those connections to your ancestors, to your food, and it's very complex, right?
I wanted, and just thanks for saying that and bringing that up. I think even during the filming, something that it wasn't shown in the video, but we were talking about that, and then even today we were talking about it a little bit. I'm a parent of 3, and we're talking about this morning too. I think the importance of doing this work, right? And as a parent, sometimes it would be easier to just to get the chicken nuggets, right? And just go, yeah, it is. It would save me a lot of time. And the labor of figuring out what they want to eat and all the picky things that they want. But it is, and so it is hard, especially in a society that congratulates and rewards quick, fast, no breaks. Say it.
Replaceable.
Replaceable. That's what we celebrate. That's what we hold in. Somebody who can hold 2 jobs and go to school and do all the things. We're like, yeah, look at you, you're grinding. And we value that as opposed to somebody who takes the time out, who has to slow down, and it is hard. I won't say it's easy to do. It is even a form of resistance or a radical act, I would say, to literally put your phone down, do all the things to make your breakfast, make that one meal a week that may be nourishing, and maybe it is just starts with one meal a week. Maybe it's one day a week that you invite your family or your friends over. Today we're making tamales. Next week we're doing, whatever. We're doing some fermentation. We're doing some jarring. We're doing, prep food. We're doing our shopping together. That's one, and I think, I'm even a smoothie drinker, but even the smoothie thing it's always just fast, right? Just like throw it in, get the powder in, boom, and we're done out the door, Maybe we take our time with our smoothie. Maybe we sit down and, meditate, do that, or make that a little ritual, as we're pouring things into our smoothie, into our blender. It is hard though, to make that time, to be intentional with your food. So anything we can do to support and more inspiring and encouragement is what we do. Maybe there's something coming up.
Thank you. Yeah, I think little by little changes, like he say, make the time, no? How we want to find the time to make exercise as well, make the time to have at least once a week, how he say, maybe on the weekend, a good food with our family, with our friend. That's something that inspired me a lot to be sharing cacao workshops, or just sharing what we can do, like in longest process from the scratch, because for sure you're gonna need help. It's gonna take a time, and beautiful words, talks can come up, and that's healing too, because we start to smell and we start to remember, and I remember one day my grandma gave me this, or my auntie used to cook this like that, and also, I've been finding like that's something that helps us to connect with our family, with the elders in our family, because right away when you mention something that they used to eat or cook, I get their attention, and they are smiling, of course, and sharing about the way that they do that recipe, or the way that they do that huitlacoche. And that's something amazing, because it does everybody, like shitomate or tomato, how we call it here, is gonna remember us something, right? Everything, every smell or taste. Thank you.
Yeah, I think on that note, we wanted to turn it over to you. I know there's lots of folks that have other questions and hopefully, or have other thoughts, and hopefully can kind of feed into this one. But on that note, we wanted to take it to you all and think about this and what you saw, what you tasted, what we've been discussing today. When you reflect on that, how do you preserve that connection to the foods of your culture, to the foods of your ancestors? How does it show up for you on a day-to-day? How does it show up for you at dinner time? How does it show up for you at a holiday or a tradition? So we wanted to create some space for you to reflect on that. And, we're talking about huitlacoche and cacao today, but we all know we come with all these different rich foods from all sorts of places, and I think that beautiful storytelling and connection is what kind of helps us kind of grow that richness of the complexity of our food system. So we would like to turn that over to you. If somebody wants to hear from that, I'm gonna come back over here. I think you wanted to say something before, yeah.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me fine? Yeah. Jose from Feeding San Diego, Food Rescue Coordinator. Wanted to hear your opinion really on how do you feel about fine dining and Mexican food now. I feel that it's more of a trend now, and you know, you have these expensive places in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and all these, you know, in Mexico that are charging, I don't know, $300 for a 12-course meal, and they'll give you mole and chitacanas here, hoja santa there, and you know, different type of tortillas. So, do you think it's gonna help at the end to preserve some techniques, some ingredients, or do you think it's just gonna kind of not allow the people from that region to have those type of ingredients for their meals? What do I think? I think it's a good introduction for outsiders to taste what Mexican food could be. However, I don't feel that it should be, they're charging you for the presentation, for many other things, and I feel that there's also people from Mexico that won't be able to go to those places. Those places are not for Mexicans, they're for people from other countries that have that money. So I think it helps to introduce other people that maybe wouldn't try a chitacana, like an ant, or a chapulín, a grasshopper, at the mercado, like at a market. So it helps that way, but I also feel they're taking advantage of a lot of people, a lot of hard work from other people that have done this before. So just wanted to hear your opinion about that. And mole was amazing, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to see communities, indigenous communities thrive, you know, and I think it would be great if indigenous communities were at the forefront and control that narrative. And so, but that's not often what I see. And so, yeah. Si quieres opinar.
Yeah, it is difficult, that question, because as long as the new generation can try new food, it will be something beautiful, because they already can, like, maybe live that experience to awake some things, some memories, right? But yeah, it's really bad that we bring like some ingredients so that they grow far, and we bring it here because we don't have it here. It is expensive. Yeah, some people is gonna maybe no enjoy that, but yeah, it's a decision, right? Because a lot of people still like we know that we mentioned, like working down there with that, like having those good foods. See, I guess it's a price to stay here and in this side of the border.
And to me, it seems like this conversation is really illuminating, I think, what we all face on a day-to-day, right? It's that tension. There's a tension in how we live. There's a tension in maybe how we want to live. There's a tension in how we experience the world, even with each other. And so I think through the storytelling, through the food, through expressing that, I think it's contributing. You know, it's contributing into moving in the right direction as a community. And so I wanted to then take it back to this question of preservation, right? Because as you were saying, like, that is a tension. How do you feel, right? If the ingredients of your culture, of your homeland, are no longer affordable to you, how does that feel? If it's coming to this stage, but you're not invited to that stage, how does that feel, right? And so there's a lot of tension in that. And some people might say that's the preservation of it, right? I don't know. And there's a lot of just sort of like disconnect in there. I think one thing that I maybe would reflect on and share, and I would think maybe some of you in this room have this experience as well, that I'm from a family of immigrants. And like Mario, my school lunch, when I took out my school lunch, people were like, right? And And every winter, my mom is from rural Croatia, and so you make sausages. And so I had a piece of dried sausage that we made in my basement in Chicago in the winter before, and then you smoked at your uncle's smokehouse, and then you dried it in your own garage. And then that's what I took to school for lunch with a big honking piece of bread. And when you take that out, and you know, a raw piece of red pepper, people are kind of looking at you strange, right? And the name of the game when my parents came to the U.S. in the 70s was assimilation. And so this session was very meaningful to me, as Huitlacoche and cacao is not a part of my ancestral story. But that story of sort of assimilation, that story of having your foods removed from you, having that disconnect, sort of, this is what we eat here. It's going to be the chicken nuggets. It's going to be, you know. So I kind of invite you to then think about what might have been your experiences with that. And also now, if you have these connections to your food, if you've been able to maintain those connections, how do you preserve them for your children, for your the young people in your community?
Well, for me, I feel like part of that is kind of rejecting the stage of it and that platform, and realizing that, like, as we're trying to preserve so much of our indigenous cultures, like, who's that audience that we're trying to present that to? And a lot of that, it's like, when you look at a stage and you look at, you know, who's trying to view this, who's trying to gain that knowledge, sometimes it's people trying to commodify it and view it as like a new marketing kind of avenue and things like that. And so when viewing that, I guess, like, it's important for me to reflect on where I'm like trying to present this knowledge, you know, and recognizing that it's not just my culture that is kind of facing erasure right now, and realizing that it's a global struggle, and that it feels like in the last decade it's gotten a lot more intense, whether that's like genocide in Palestine, whether that's the pandemic making us lose like so many of our elders and stuff. So yeah.
There's so much to that I would love to kind of keep talking about, and if anybody wants to connect, you know, I'd love to connect more and continue doing this work. You know, it's not just us up here doing this work. It's again all of you all showing up to do this work in your own communities, in your own spaces, in your own homes, wherever you can affect that change. I do. Yeah, you know, I'm just hearing all the stories and the reflections, and I hope, you know, something was, you know, revived. Something happened today. Some DNA memory was activated. You know, I would love, you know, implore us, you know, in here, especially in this room, in this movement. You're obviously interested in the food systems. You know, it's time, you know, where, you know, sometimes it's easy to just stay in our, you know, in our little community, in our bubble. It's safer sometimes there. But we do got to think about how our actions and the food system and how we're contributing to it and how we can build a better system for the next generation. I will say this morning, I had a talk. I was driving my 7th grader to school, and he was just reflecting on the night before. Last night we were cooking up mole, and there was like activity late at night. Normally they're like going to sleep pretty early and things, and so he just asked, you know, is it fun for you to work with you know, to do that? And you know, it had been days, you know, that we'd been cooking, and I did another workshop yesterday, and you know, it's you know, we're busy, and he's, you know, and sometimes I'm just barely hanging in there, but I told him yes, it's really fun actually, and we always have fun cooking, but more than that, I told him, you know, I kind of mentioned the fact that if we don't do this, if I stop, if I'm the generation that stops introducing this food, how easy is it going to be for that to be lost? And he agreed. It's easy, you know, we're so connected, but yet we're so disconnected, right? I think a lot of the the conversation we've been having is like the connection with our elders, the connection with our community. And so, doing this work is important for the next generation. It's important for the globe that we're living on. Last night, my daughter too, as she was going to sleep, the house smelled of mole and chile, and she mentioned, "This smells so comfy," and it wasn't something. It's mole, and the mole. I mean, this is a new mole for us too. It's never been made in my home, and so it was comforting knowing that she fell asleep, smelling this mole, smelling the aroma of epazote, of chiles, and these ancestral foods, and so I think there's a lot of. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to, I have better days than others. Some days are harder than others. When I think about all the things that are happening in the world, but hearing those comments from my kids last night, seeing all y'all show up, it really does affirm that this work is good. And I know again, there's our relatives in Gaza are being disappeared, and there's a genocide happening right now in Sudan and Guatemala, and all over the world there is violence happening. Land is being encroached on, the soil's being hurt, and I could go on and on. But really, we all have to eat. Everybody has to eat. There's a housing crisis in San Diego. And so a lot of this work, it is to inspire change in our kitchen, through our food. And I really do think, because everybody eats, it is a vehicle that we can connect with everybody. And I just love hearing all the stories, especially your story. And I love hearing everybody's stories, and what things and memories are unlocked for them. And I think we need to keep sharing those stories with each other. Again, I was talking about increasing biodiversity, sharing our stories. For me, I have to believe it so I could carry on. It is a healing path and a way to heal, and continue doing this work of resistance and surviving and making sure and preserving our traditions and our foods. It's crucial. I would love to pass it to my compañera to share a few words with us and just close us out, if you'd do us the honor.
Well, I think that I don't thank you, Mario, for inviting me to be part of that table too. I just want to also mention that we are here on behalf of our ancestors, of our elders, of a lot of families that are working in close relationship with them. And I just want to mention that I also wake up today with a very sweet smell at mole in my hands. And I was feeling that sensation that everything is good. I feel my loved ones close at me. Like just waking up with that good smell. And also, mention that we have, many of you know that we have a lot of violence also in Mexico, right? And when I go down there, even my family don't want me that I go to the cacao tales, because Guerrero and Michoacán, there are the states that have more violence right now. But that don't stop me of going there and try to learn a little bit more, and try to have that relation with cacao, take my offerings to the family, and how I say, continue learning from the indigenous people. I reclaim myself as an indigenous because I know that I got it on my blood. Even when I'm born and I grow up on the city, I've been trying to grow seeds, to grow corn in my yard, in little pots. Wherever I go, I try to grow my root. I feel from there, and I feel from here, and I feel so honored for that because I see here a lot of beautiful faces that I see before, and a lot of beautiful faces that I see for first time today. But it is beautiful because the community has been like my family, don't having like blood members here on the States, and the work with the seeds has been me opening the relations with a lot of beautiful people, and I hope that you can enjoy the process, the connect with your own traditions, with your own roots, with your own family, and thank you all for being here.